What is Leicester Comedy Festival?
We are now officially the biggest comedy festival in the UK.
You can't get a better festival than the Leicester Comedy Festival.
I'm Josh Widdicombe and I'm at the Leicester Comedy Festival.
Hello Leicester Comedy Festival.
Leicester Comedy Festival. Long may it continue.
Leicester Comedy Festival. Doesn't it just do what other comedy festivals wish they could be?
Leicester Comedy Festival these days spans 19 days. Every February it welcomes 1,000 shows with more than 800 comedians and an incredible number of festival goers, numbering 135. No, that can't be right. 135,000. But where did it all begin?
Leicester in the early 90s was quite quiet, I seem to remember. There was not a huge amount going on. There was stuff at De Montfort Hall and the student unions, the old Phoenix Arts Centre. We as students were involved in that quite a lot. And there were various pubs doing live entertainment and stuff, but it probably wasn't the most exciting city.
What, Leicester in the early 90s, I guess I didn't really know much about that. I didn't know a lot about it, and I suppose that means that for me there wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah, when I set up the club, the sort of like the buzz in Leicester, people were glad that something was happening again.
It was so exciting to be involved in a new festival in 1994. There really weren't many festivals like it around the country. Comedy was on the brink of this massive explosion. It was the coolest art form in the country, and we were just sort of there right at the beginning.
I'm always delighted when a new comedy festival starts up somewhere, particularly A, if it's outside London, and B, if it's a city that... I think the thing about Leicester is Leicester probably was like looking for an identity. Comedy for so many years was so London-centric that if you weren't prepared to travel miles from wherever you were, like Cheshire or Norfolk or whatever, you couldn't really get much practice. And I think it kind of gave Leicester a bit of a whoop, you know.
The whole sort of multicultural offer and all the communities that were part of it were not really present, not to my memory. So, and I think a lot of these exciting developments in Leicester took place at the time that the Comedy Festival, came to birth. And whether or not there was a direct influence, well, I like to think that there was.
We as a group had never put on any comedy before. We didn't know any comedians, we didn't know any agents, but we didn't let that stop us.
After the success of the first couple of festivals, it came back bigger and better year after year, spreading across city and county. Oh, bollocks. But it's not been plain sailing, with the festival finding it hard to remain sustainable.
In those early years it was quite tough. We didn't really earn a salary out of what we were doing. We continued to work behind bars and front of house at venues, and I was a dustman one summer for the city council, and it was hard to make it work. It was hard to keep staff on board because they wanted to earn money and do other things. One year in particular, we were hit massively financially, and we potentially lost a considerable amount of cash.
I mean, I can remember on one occasion when the Comedy Festival was in what looked like almost terminal state.
There were a lot of sleepless nights, there was a lot of heartache at that point, and it could have very easily finished.
We'd become much closer to it as a consequence of that sponsorship, and I was due to come to a meeting with the City Council and the organisers to talk about the future of the Comedy Festival.
And we were really honest with them, and we just said, you know, we've got these pile of invoices that we can't afford to pay. And incredibly, the then editor of the Leicester Mercury put his neck above the line really and said, well, I'll give £5,000.
That triggered or allowed the Comedy Festival to then turn around to the City Council and say, see? And I think that was really important that we could help in that way, I think.
That was phenomenal really, because that kind of demonstrated, I suppose, that the festival was valued and we were doing something right, not only for the venues and for comedy, but also for the city.
Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year competition has supported new and emerging comedians since 1995, with winners including Joe Enright, Johnny Vegas, Jason Manford, Rod Gilbert, Sean Walsh, Josh Widdicombe, Romesh Ranganathan and Kate Lucas. The competition aims to give comedians a platform to perform their comedy and a helping hand to get them to the next stages of their careers. The winner also gets prize money, which helps them continue their comedy career.
I'm Romesh Ranganathan. I entered and won the Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year in 2013.
I cannot tell you how close I was to giving up when I came to do the Leicester Mercury final. So what had happened was...
Giving up completely?
Giving up comedy completely.
Right.
And the reason is I decided to go full-time stand-up. I was doing a secure job, and I've left that secure job to do something that's quite fanciful and quite high risk. And I've put my family in jeopardy as a result. We've now not got a car, we can't pay the bills. And I remember I was about to get on the train to Leicester. I phoned my wife and I said, look, I said to her, I don't know why I'm doing it. I can't get my head around why I'm doing this anymore. I was like, really rock bottom arriving, turned up to the gig. I just thought, just have a good gig, and then ended up winning, which is like, I was so surprised. I know people say that they're surprised, but I was genuinely like gobsmacked. And it just felt like, it really felt like a turning point, man. I didn't realise it was a turning point at the time. It just felt like an immediate boost. But then things started to kick on from there. And now, when I look back at the point that things turned around, I think if I hadn't, I genuinely, 100%, if I hadn't have come and done that final, I would have given up. I would have definitely given up. So, you know, it couldn't have been much more of a turning point, really, for me.
I have very fond memories of the Leicester Comedy Festival. My first time here, I was in the final for the Leicester Mercury, which I won. That was nice. Just dropped that in there. It's always been a festival, I think, that supported up-and-coming comedians and younger acts that try to break through.
It is a prestigious award. It's a really great thing to be part of.
One of the judges on the Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year was the person that then went on to sign me and allowed me to quit my job.
Hi, my name is Alistair Beckett-King, and I inexplicably just won Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year at the Leicester Comedy Festival.
It's so hard, I think, for all of us. So I know a lot of the guys that I was competing with, and we grind a lot, and it's difficult to get recognition. So competitions like this just gives us that extra bit of promotion.
Household names and up-and-coming comedians perform at Leicester Comedy Festival every year, with the festival hosting a variety of their own shows, including the UK Pun Championships, Loving Laughing, the Gala Preview Show, the annual live Q&As with comedians, and finale show Comedy Heaven.
I remember seeing Bill Bailey here, and that was when he was quite new on the scene. I guess that he was quite new to me, and that was at the Y Theatre, and that was one of the early starts of the Comedy Festival, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And I think when you look at his career and Graham Norton's, you know, you look at their careers, you know, the Comedy Festival gave them that platform to grow.
Everybody loves to laugh, and the festival has showcased comedy to a diverse range of audiences in unique places. From comedy in care homes through to launching the UK Kids Comedy Festival in 2018 to engage younger audiences and their families, Leicester Comedy Festival has been a pretty broad grin for 30 years, putting smiles on the faces of all backgrounds, as well as supporting comedians who would never have had the opportunity 30 years ago.
I think it's very important for every comedy festival to be diverse and inclusive. And it's nice to see that the Leicester Comedy Festival sees it as being so important. From the point of view of a disabled performer, I think that it's vital that we're given these opportunities. The general public need to see that disabled people can contribute an awful lot to society. And they need to see that we have a sense of humour just like anyone else.
Yeah. And if we said it will be here for another 30 years, do you think it will be?
Well, in terms of another 30 years, what is loath to predict, and things are changing. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Which is a very politician's answer, isn't it? There's no reason it shouldn't be here in 30 years. There's no reason my hair shouldn't grow back. You know, there's no reason all these things. But I see absolutely no reason that the Comedy Festival shouldn't continue to flourish and go from strength to strength.
I hope it will still be here in 30 years' time, because I think that laughter and fun and that whole sort of people gathering together to laugh together is crucial.
I think Leicester Comedy Festival, 30 years on, just continues to stimulate the art scene in Leicester in a really broad range of ways. And it's not just about, it is about humour, but it's about access and it's about interaction and it's about over that sort of 10-day, 14-day period. I never know quite how long it runs for now because it's expanded and expanded. There is just something going on for anybody and everyone every single day, and that is just thanks to a huge amount of enthusiasm and a lot of collaboration and a lot of support.
I've been on a journey across the country to find out what the Leicester Comedy Festival is. It's taken 30 years, 30 festivals, 1 million festival goers, 8,000 comedians to finally arrive at the answer to what is the Leicester Comedy Festival. Well, the Leicester Comedy Festival is a comedy festival that takes place in Leicester.